She was the golden voice of 20th century Fox, a woman whose songs defined an era, whose films lifted America during its darkest days, and who walked away from Hollywood at the peak of her fame. This is the remarkable and often overlooked life story of Alice Faye, a star who chose dignity over stardom.
You'll never know just how much I miss you. You'll never know just how much I care. You'll never know if you don't know now.
Before we begin, subscribe to Sajjad Classic for timeless stories of Hollywood's greatest legends. Alice Jean Leppert was born on May 5, 1915 in New York City, at a time when the city was alive with both hardship and opportunity. She grew up in a working-class household where discipline and responsibility were part of daily life. Her father, a New York police officer of German descent, worked long, demanding hours to support the family, while her mother, of Irish heritage, brought warmth and emotional balance into their home. Although money was limited, the Leppert household was never quiet. Music played a central role in Alice's upbringing. Popular songs of the day, vaudeville tunes, and early jazz melodies were a constant presence, creating an environment where artistic expression was encouraged rather than suppressed. From a very young age, Alice displayed a natural ear for melody and a voice that stood out for its depth and warmth. Unlike many child singers who relied on showy techniques, Alice's voice already carried a smooth, emotional quality that made people stop and listen. Family gatherings often turned into informal performances, with Alice singing for relatives and friends. These early moments were crucial. They not only revealed her vocal gift, but also built her confidence in front of an audience. By her early teens, it was clear that singing was more than a hobby. It was a calling. Recognizing her potential, Alice enrolled at the New York School of Music, where she received formal training in vocal performance. There she learned proper breathing techniques, pitch control, and musical phrasing. This education refined her raw talent and helped shape the contralto voice that would later become her trademark. Unlike operatic singers, Alice developed a conversational singing style, intimate, emotional, and relatable, perfectly suited for popular music and film. Like many young performers growing up during the early 1930s, Alice viewed the stage as an escape from ordinary life. The world was still struggling through the Great Depression, and entertainment offered hope, glamour, and a way forward. Alice dreamed of standing beneath bright lights, performing for audiences far beyond her neighborhood. As a teenager, she began working in vaudeville shows and chorus lines, the traditional training ground for aspiring entertainers of her generation. These jobs were far from glamorous. Long rehearsals, modest pay, and constant competition tested her determination. Yet this period proved invaluable. Performing night after night taught Alice discipline, timing, and stage awareness. She learned how to connect with audiences, how to hold attention without exaggeration, and how to let emotion carry a performance. These live performances shaped what would later become her signature screen persona. While many Hollywood stars relied on dramatic gestures and heightened expressions, Alice developed a natural, relaxed presence that felt honest and unforced. Audiences sensed authenticity in her performances, a quality rooted in these early, hard-working years on the stage. By the time she was ready to step into Hollywood, Alice Faye was no overnight discovery. She was a performer hardened by experience, trained by necessity, and guided by a genuine love for music. Foundations that would soon propel her to stardom. Alice Faye's professional breakthrough did not happen overnight. Like many performers of her generation, her journey began on the Broadway stage, where talent mattered more than glamour. In the early 1930s, she earned a place in popular Broadway revues, most notably Scandals.
You nasty man, taking your love on the easy plan, here and there and where you can. Oh, you nasty man.
Produced by Florenz Ziegfeld's rival, George White. These revue shows were a mix of music, comedy sketches, and dance numbers, and they served as a proving ground for young entertainers. Although Alice was not yet a headliner, her singing stood out immediately. Unlike the powerful operatic voices favored at the time, Alice possessed a warm, intimate contralto that felt personal and emotionally direct. Audiences responded to her sincerity, and industry insiders took notice. Her stage success opened the doors to Hollywood, and by 1934, Alice signed a contract with 20th Century Fox. At first, the studio was unsure how to use her. She was cast in minor roles, often as a singer rather than a dramatic actress, and some early appearances were uncredited. However, these small parts allowed her voice to be heard, and once heard, it was impossible to ignore. Studio executives quickly realized that Alice had something rare, a natural screen presence that felt approachable, modern, and emotionally honest. While other actresses relied on exaggerated expressions or theatrical delivery, Alice appeared relaxed and genuine, almost as if she were performing directly for the viewer. George White's 1935 Scandals.
I can't believe it's true. It all seems like a dream.
Well, if it is, then don't wake me up.
Broadway,
You and me,
together.
always.
George White's 1935 Scandals was not a traditional story-driven film. Instead, it followed the revue format, meaning the movie was structured as a series of musical numbers, comedy sketches, and specialty acts, loosely connected rather than bound by a single plot. The film centers on a light, fictional backstage setup, where producers and performers prepare a grand musical revue. This framing allowed the movie to move freely from one performance to another without strict narrative continuity. Alice Faye did not play a deeply written character with a name central to the story. Instead, she appeared as a featured singer within the revue, representing the emotional and romantic heart of the film's musical sections. Her role was to deliver songs that provided romantic warmth, offered emotional contrast to the broad comedy, created moments of intimacy within a fast-paced, show-filled movie. While comedians like James Dunn and Cliff Edwards carried much of the humor, Alice's presence slowed the film down in a good way. Her musical performances acted as emotional anchors, allowing audiences to connect on a deeper level rather than simply being entertained by spectacle. In a revue packed with noise, movement, and novelty acts, Alice stood out because of her understated delivery. She did not rely on extravagant costumes or dramatic gestures. Instead, the camera focused on her face and voice, allowing her natural charm to carry the moment. Important trivia. Studio feedback revealed that viewers frequently mentioned Alice Faye by name after screenings, a key factor that convinced 20th Century Fox she could carry leading roles in future productions. Every Night at 8, 1935, released in 1935, Every Night at 8 marked an important step forward in Alice Faye's Hollywood journey. Unlike revue-style musicals, this film offered a light narrative built around music, giving Alice more space to express personality rather than simply perform.
Yeah, $1,500 for posing in the bathing suit.
The room was so cold we nearly got the flu.
Oh, I like that picture, though. Brought us more fan mail than any other. Fifi, who was that man that wanted to marry me?
He made him sing.
The film follows a small-time musical trio struggling to gain recognition in the competitive entertainment world. Alice Faye played Dixie Blue, the emotional and musical center of the trio. While her co-stars provided humor and energy, Alice brought warmth and sincerity to the role. Dixie was portrayed as grounded, determined, and quietly confident, qualities that aligned naturally with Alice's real-life screen persona. Rather than playing a flashy showgirl, Alice portrayed a woman who believed in her music even when success seemed distant. Her performance relied on emotional restraint, allowing the songs to feel intimate rather than theatrical. The camera often lingered on her face during musical moments, emphasizing subtle expressions over grand gestures. Her voice once again became the film's defining element, smooth, expressive, and emotionally direct. Instead of dominating the film, Alice anchored it, giving the story heart and credibility. Critics responded favorably to Alice Faye's performance. Reviews noted that while the story was modest, Alice elevated the film with her vocal warmth and relaxed screen presence. Commentators praised her ability to make musical numbers feel personal, predicting she would become one of Fox's most dependable musical stars. Every Night at 8 was one of the first films where Alice Faye played a fully developed character, not just a singer. Poor Little Rich Girl, 1936. Poor Little Rich Girl was a sentimental musical comedy built around the immense popularity of Shirley Temple.
You are an angel without any wings, a vision so lovely to see. Are you the reason my happy heart sings, but definitely?
While Temple was the film's emotional center, the story relied heavily on Alice Faye to provide warmth, maturity, and musical depth, a role that fit her screen persona perfectly. The film tells the story of Barbara Barry, a wealthy but lonely child whose father is constantly absent due to his demanding career. Despite living in luxury, Barbara feels emotionally neglected and yearns for companionship and understanding. Alice Faye plays a kind-hearted nightclub singer, a woman whose life exists far from wealth and privilege, yet who possesses emotional generosity and sincerity. Her character becomes one of the first adults to truly listen to Barbara, offering affection without conditions or authority. Unlike flashy musical roles, Alice's performance here is deliberately restrained. She plays her character with gentle humor and quiet empathy, allowing her natural warmth to shine through. Her scenes with Shirley Temple feel unforced and genuine, more like moments between real people than staged performances. Rather than competing with Shirley Temple's charm, Alice complements it, acting as the emotional bridge between the child's innocence and the adult world's responsibilities. Critics praised Alice Faye for bringing heart and believability to what could have been a purely sentimental film. Reviews often noted that while Shirley Temple delivered the film's sweetness, Alice provided its emotional grounding. Poor Little Rich Girl strengthened Alice Faye's reputation as Hollywood's most relatable musical actress. Stowaway, 1936.
Do you know what you are?
No, but I have an uneasy feeling you're about to tell me.
You're a museum piece.
Hmm?
You should be in a glass case in an exhibit of the terrible 20s, with a cocktail shaker in your hand and your shirt front scrawled with chorus girls' telephone numbers, and a label, Playboy, BC before the crash. Former habitat, Broadway, now extinct.
Released in 1936, Stowaway paired Alice Faye once again with the immensely popular Shirley Temple, but this time in an adventure-tinged musical that blended sentiment, romance, and cultural curiosity. The story follows Ching Ching, an orphaned Chinese girl who secretly boards an ocean liner traveling from Hong Kong to the United States. Alice Faye plays Susan Parker, an American woman traveling aboard the ship. Susan is independent, kind-spirited, and emotionally perceptive, someone who notices Ching Ching not as a problem, but as a child in need of protection. Rather than portraying overt maternal sentiment, Alice approaches the role with natural empathy. Her character becomes the film's moral center, guiding the child, calming conflicts, and quietly influencing others to act with compassion. She does not dominate the story. Instead, she anchors it emotionally, giving the narrative credibility and warmth. Musically, Alice's songs serve as emotional punctuation rather than spectacle.
Good night, my love. My moment with you now is ending.
Her voice, once again, is used to soothe and reassure, reinforcing her character's gentle strength. The contrast between the vast ocean setting and Alice's intimate singing style made her scenes especially memorable. Alice's chemistry with both Shirley Temple and Robert Young was widely noted. With Temple, she conveyed trust and emotional safety. With Young, she displayed subtle romantic ease without melodrama. Critics praised Stowaway for balancing sentiment with sincerity, and Alice Faye was frequently cited as a major reason for its success. Reviews highlighted her understated acting, noting that she avoided exaggeration and allowed emotion to develop naturally. Many critics viewed this role as further confirmation that Alice Faye was becoming one of Fox's most reliable leading ladies.
Learn to discipline your mind. With patient practice, you will find how easily each one of you can do the things you want to do.
Wake Up and Live, 1937. The film is loosely inspired by the real-life success of radio personality Walter Winchell, portrayed on screen by himself. The story follows how unknown performers gain recognition through radio broadcasting, the most powerful new medium of the era, emphasizing how exposure, timing, and perseverance could transform ordinary lives into public sensations. Alice Faye plays Jean Roberts, a talented singer struggling to break into the entertainment world. Unlike earlier roles where chance or kindness guided her success, Jean actively chases opportunity, demonstrating determination and self-belief. Alice portrays Jean with relaxed authority, confident without arrogance, hopeful without naivete.
Wake up and live, don't mind the rainy patter, and you will find it's mind over matter. Dark clouds will break up if you will wake up and live.
Musically, Alice's songs in the film are framed as career-defining moments, rather than emotional interludes. The camera frequently emphasizes her composure and control, reflecting a woman who knows her voice is her strength. The film featured Walter Winchell playing himself, Jack Haley providing comedic energy, Ben Burney contributing musical flair. The presence of real radio personalities gave the film authenticity, and Alice's calm screen presence balanced the novelty and fast pace of the radio world. Critics welcomed Alice Faye's more assertive role. Reviews noted her natural confidence and vocal polish, suggesting she was now fully prepared to carry leading roles. Wake Up and Live was one of the earliest Hollywood films to integrate real radio celebrities into a fictional story. Alice Faye's role reflected her own real-life rise within Fox, blurring the line between fiction and reality.
Why, something wrong?
No, that is, I think there's some mascara in my eye.
Oh, well, don't rub it. Here. Just a minute. I'll fix it. Try this. Say, that's not mascara. That looks real to me.
Well, I suppose I should be as sophisticated as my plays and take you for what you are. Just a charming fake. But somehow I can't.
You Can't Have Everything, 1937. Released in 1937, You Can't Have Everything arrived at a moment when Alice Faye was transitioning from promising musical star to a dramatically credible leading lady. The film allowed her to step away from light show business fantasies and explore themes of love, sacrifice, and emotional restraint. Set in pre-World War I Europe, the film follows a romantic triangle shaped by war, duty, and personal desire. Alice Faye plays Christine Weigand, a gentle, emotionally intelligent woman caught between affection and selflessness. Christine is not driven by ambition or spectacle. Instead, she represents emotional maturity and moral clarity. Alice approaches the role with quiet strength. Christine understands love deeply, and also understands when love must be restrained. This emotional awareness made the character resonate strongly with adult audiences. Musically, Alice's songs are integrated as reflections of internal feeling rather than theatrical displays. Her singing expresses longing, regret, and acceptance, emotions that words alone cannot convey. The restraint in her delivery made these moments especially powerful. The film starred Don Ameche as the romantic lead. Alice's calm, serious performance balanced the film's lighter moments, ensuring that its emotional core remained intact. Critics praised Alice Faye for delivering one of her most nuanced performances to date. Reviews highlighted her ability to convey emotional complexity without exaggeration, noting that she gave the film its emotional credibility. The film demonstrated her ability to handle dramatic romance, not just light musicals.
Got my mind on music. When I think of music, I think of love, and when I think of love, oh.
Sally, Irene, and Mary, 1938. Released in 1938, Sally, Irene, and Mary allowed Alice Faye to step into a role that emphasized friendship, loyalty, and quiet emotional strength, rather than romance or spectacle. The film follows three young women, Sally, Irene, and Mary, who share a cramped apartment and big dreams in New York City. Each woman represents a different personality and ambition, but all are united by the struggle to survive in a competitive world. As opportunities arise and disappointments follow, their friendship is tested by success, jealousy, and sacrifice. Alice Faye plays Sally, the most emotionally grounded of the trio. Sally is practical, compassionate, and quietly resilient, the one who holds the group together when dreams begin to clash with reality. Alice portrays Sally with natural warmth and maturity, avoiding melodrama or exaggerated ambition. She is neither the most ambitious nor the most dramatic character, but she is the most emotionally reliable. The friend who listens, supports, and absorbs disappointment without bitterness. Musically, Alice's songs reflect reflection and endurance, rather than showmanship. Her voice adds emotional texture to the film, underscoring moments of doubt, hope, and shared understanding. These musical moments feel personal, reinforcing Sally's role as the film's emotional anchor. Critics praised Alice Faye for giving the film its emotional authenticity. Reviews often noted that while the film featured novelty and star appeal, Alice's performance made the characters' struggles believable. Sally, Irene, and Mary was one of Alice Faye's few films centered primarily on female friendship rather than romance.
I never knew heaven could be here in my heart.
Rose of Washington Square, 1939. Released in 1939, Rose of Washington Square marked a high point in Alice Faye's dramatic maturity. Loosely inspired by the life of legendary songwriter Fanny Brice, the film follows the rise of Rose Sargent, a gifted singer who climbs from modest beginnings to national fame. Along the way, success brings romantic entanglements, professional betrayals, and painful personal sacrifices. At its core, the story explores how ambition and love can collide, and how fame often demands a price greater than expected. Alice Faye plays Rose Sargent, a woman whose emotional journey mirrors her professional rise. Alice portrays Rose not as a flashy star in the making, but as a deeply feeling individual whose success grows out of vulnerability rather than bravado. Her performance is marked by restraint and sincerity. As Rose's career flourishes, Alice subtly shifts her emotional tone, from hopeful innocence to guarded maturity, allowing the audience to experience the cost of success alongside her. Musically, this film gave Alice some of her most emotionally charged songs. Her voice carries longing, heartbreak, and quiet resilience, transforming musical numbers into narrative confessionals rather than showpieces. Each song advances Rose's emotional arc rather than interrupting it. The film featured Al Jolson as the powerful mentor figure, Tyrone Power adding romantic tension. The dynamic between Alice and Jolson provided emotional gravity, while her scenes with Power highlighted romantic vulnerability rather than glamour. Critics widely praised Alice Faye for delivering one of her finest performances. Reviews emphasized her ability to sustain emotional continuity throughout the film, noting that she avoided melodrama even in moments of heartbreak. Many critics considered her portrayal of Rose Sargent a career-defining role, demonstrating that she could carry emotionally complex material with depth and authenticity.
Well, first I want everybody to love me. Yet I want to love someone so madly that nobody else matters.
Lillian Russell, 1940. Released in 1940, Lillian Russell represented one of the most ambitious and prestigious projects of Alice Faye's career. This was not simply another musical romance. It was a lavish biographical drama, requiring Alice to portray a real-life American icon whose fame once rivaled royalty. The film dramatizes the life of Lillian Russell, one of the most celebrated stage performers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Rising from modest beginnings, Russell became a symbol of beauty, talent, and extravagance, dominating Broadway and high society alike. Alice Faye plays Lillian Russell herself, carrying the film almost entirely on her shoulders. Rather than portraying Russell as a distant legend, Alice humanizes her, presenting a woman driven by talent, confidence, and emotional vulnerability. Alice approaches the role with measured elegance. Her performance captures the performer's transformation from an ambitious young singer into a seasoned star navigating fame, love, and public scrutiny. Her voice conveys authority and refinement, reflecting Russell's stature as a dominant figure in American entertainment. Unlike Alice's earlier intimate performances, these numbers are grander, signaling her character's commanding presence. The film featured a strong supporting ensemble, including Don Ameche as newspaper magnate Diamond Jim Brady, Henry Fonda in a dramatic supporting role. Alice's scenes with Ameche emphasized emotional warmth and loyalty, while her interactions with Fonda highlighted conflict between love and independence. The New York Times admired Alice's dignified portrayal, emphasizing her ability to suggest grandeur without imitation. Variety praised her vocal control and composure, calling her performance measured and respectful. Many critics described the performance as one of Alice Faye's most demanding roles, applauding her ability to carry a large-scale biographical film with confidence and sincerity. Trivia. Lillian Russell was one of the most expensive productions of Alice Faye's career at 20th Century Fox.
Just tell me where you are, and I'll be there. Oh, where you are is paradise for me.
The Great American Broadcast, 1941. The Great American Broadcast traces the rise of American radio from the years following World War I into the early era of nationwide broadcasting. The story follows Sam Rogers and Les Patterson, two former soldiers who returned from the war hoping to rebuild their lives through entertainment. As vaudeville declines and new technology reshapes show business, both men struggle financially and professionally. Alice Faye plays Vicki Adams, a singer whose personal journey runs parallel to the transformation of American entertainment. At the start of the film, Vicki is part of a struggling household affected by post-war instability and her husband's inability to adapt to the shifting entertainment landscape. Financial pressure pushes her toward radio work, not as a dream of fame, but as a means of support. Her rise is gradual and tied directly to the growth of radio itself. The film presents her success as the result of adaptation rather than ambition. Musically, Alice's songs in the film are woven into the fabric of radio performance. Her voice is presented not as spectacle, but as cultural influence, symbolizing how music reached millions through the airwaves. Variety highlighted her singing as one of the film's strongest assets, emphasizing that her voice translated exceptionally well to radio-themed storytelling and remained a major audience draw. Many commentators highlighted her singing as a reminder of why she had become one of America's favorite voices, clear, expressive, and emotionally direct. Trivia. The Great American Broadcast celebrated the early golden age of radio just as television was beginning to emerge.
Would you think I was too forward if I,
If you what?
well, if I asked you your name?
No, of course not. It's Alan. What's yours? I said, what's your name?
Oh, well, it's, Casey.
The Gang's All Here, 1943. Released in 1943, The Gang's All Here arrived during the height of World War II. For Alice Faye, the film marked a turning point, her final major screen musical and the closing chapter of her Hollywood stardom. The plot revolves around Eddie Allen, a serviceman on leave who becomes romantically involved with Eileen. Alice Faye plays Eileen Williams, a poised and self-assured singer whose presence brings emotional stability to the film's energetic chaos. While surrounded by elaborate choreography and vivid spectacle, Alice remains grounded, offering warmth rather than flamboyance. Unlike the more visually extravagant performers around her, Alice's power lies in her voice and composure. Her musical moments are intimate, almost reflective, providing contrast to the film's explosive visuals. The film is best remembered for its dazzling ensemble, including Carmen Miranda, whose flamboyant musical numbers became iconic. James Ellison as the romantic lead. Benny Goodman and his orchestra, adding musical prestige, variety, described Alice Faye as a steadying presence amid the film's flamboyant visual style. The Hollywood Reporter noted that her warmth provided contrast to the film's excess, grounding it emotionally. The film is now famous for Busby Berkeley's surreal choreography, especially the banana-themed number, a sharp contrast to Alice's restrained style. Despite the film's success, Alice felt increasingly marginalized at Fox, contributing to her decision to step away from the studio system.
You'll never know just how much I miss you. You'll never know just how much I care.
Four Jills in a Jeep, 1944. Released in 1944, Four Jills in a Jeep was both a patriotic tribute and a personal turning point for Alice Faye. The film is loosely based on the real-life USO tour undertaken by four popular actresses, Kay Francis, Carol Landis, Martha Ray, and Mitzi Mayfair, who travel across England and Europe entertaining American troops during World War II. Alice Faye appears as herself, not as a fictional character. Instead of playing a romantic lead or dramatic figure, Alice functions as a symbol of home and comfort for the soldiers she entertains. This role marked a major shift. Alice was no longer portraying ambition or romance, but service and solidarity. The New York Times acknowledged the film's episodic nature, but praised Alice's sincerity and understated patriotism. Variety noted that her appearance carried emotional resonance, particularly given her established star status. She appeared as herself, making it one of the rare films where she did not portray a fictional role. The film coincided with growing tensions between Alice and 20th Century Fox, shortly before her contract effectively ended. Fallen Angel, 1945. Released in 1945, Fallen Angel marked a dramatic and unexpected turn in Alice Faye's career. After years of being America's most beloved musical star, she returned to the screen in a dark film noir, delivering what many critics still consider the finest performance of her life. Fallen Angel is a moody, psychologically driven noir set in a small California town. The story centers on Eric Stanton, played by Dana Andrews, a charming drifter whose ambition outweighs his conscience. He becomes entangled with two very different women, one driven by dreams of escape, the other by quiet decency. Greed, desire, and moral compromise guide the narrative, leading to betrayal and murder. The film explores how fragile dreams can corrupt even seemingly ordinary people. Alice Faye plays June Mills, a warm-hearted, grounded woman who represents emotional stability and moral clarity. Unlike her glamorous musical personas, June is unadorned, practical, and deeply human. June falls in love with Eric, unaware that he initially marries her, not out of affection, but as a calculated move after becoming obsessed with another woman, Stella, played by Linda Darnell. As the story darkens, June transforms from a trusting wife into a woman confronting betrayal with quiet strength. The New York Times highlighted Alice Faye's performance as a notable departure from her musical image, emphasizing the seriousness and restraint she brought to a dramatic role within a dark narrative. Variety praised her portrayal for its emotional credibility, noting that her quiet presence provided moral contrast to the film's more cynical elements. Trivia. Fallen Angel was Alice Faye's final starring film. She deliberately chose the role after a long hiatus to prove her dramatic range. Ironically, despite rave reviews, the film's modest box office performance contributed to her decision to retire permanently from Hollywood. Unlike many Golden Age stars, Alice Faye's career did not collapse because of scandal, addiction, or box office failure. Instead, it unraveled behind studio doors, the result of power struggles, mistrust, and a system that punished independence. By the early 1940s, Alice Faye was no longer just another contract player at 20th Century Fox. She was one of the studio's most reliable box office stars. Her films had helped define Fox's musical identity, and her warm, unpretentious screen image made her enormously popular with American audiences. But this popularity also placed her in a vulnerable position. Studio head Darrell F. Zanuck was known for reshaping careers at will, often favoring younger actresses and shifting trends. The turning point came in 1944, when Alice was assigned to Fallen Angel. When she received the script, she was stunned to discover that her role had been significantly altered. The musical elements that defined her career were largely removed. The dramatic focus leaned heavily toward another actress, Linda Darnell. To Alice, this felt less like creative evolution and more like deliberate marginalization, a signal that the studio no longer valued her stature. During this period, Alice suffered a serious heart attack at just 29 years old, a medical emergency that shocked Hollywood. Doctors advised rest and warned against continued stress. Rather than receiving support, Alice felt the studio treated her illness as an inconvenience. When tensions escalated, Fox suspended her contract, a move commonly used at the time to discipline stars who resisted assignments. For Alice, this suspension was not just professional, it was personal. Many stars would have fought back, sued, or sought another studio. Alice Faye did none of these things. She made a decision that baffled Hollywood. She simply walked away. At the height of her fame, with no scandal tarnishing her name and no public demand for her removal, Alice chose family, health, and dignity over power struggles. State Fair, 1962. When Alice Faye appeared in State Fair, 1962, it wasn't a comeback driven by ambition. It was a homecoming. After nearly 17 years away from the screen, America's former musical queen returned not as a star chasing applause, but as a woman comfortable with legacy. Alice Faye plays Melissa Frake, the calm and affectionate matriarch of the Frake family. Unlike her earlier roles filled with ambition and longing, Melissa represents stability, wisdom, and emotional warmth. Her presence feels maternal rather than theatrical, a reflection of the life she had chosen off-screen. Critics welcomed Alice Faye's return with warmth and respect. Reviews praised her natural ease and maturity, noting that she brought credibility and grace to the role of a Midwestern mother. While the film itself received mixed reviews for its old-fashioned tone, Alice's performance was consistently singled out as sincere and comforting. Many critics observed that her voice had aged beautifully, deeper, softer, and more expressive than ever. Trivia. State Fair, 1962, marked Alice Faye's final film appearance. She accepted the role largely out of affection for the material and encouragement from her husband, Phil Harris. Her return was widely seen as a perfect bookend to a career that began and ended with musical warmth rather than scandal or decline. In an era when Hollywood romances burned fast and faded faster, Alice Faye's personal life stood in quiet contrast to the chaos surrounding many of her contemporaries. Fame never seemed to define her private world, relationships did. In 1937, at the height of her rising stardom, Alice married Tony Martin, a handsome and popular singer-actor whose career followed a similarly demanding path. On paper, they appeared perfectly matched, young, successful, and admired by the public. In reality, their marriage struggled almost from the beginning. Both careers demanded constant travel, long studio hours, and public appearances that left little room for a shared domestic life. The pressures of maintaining separate star images, combined with prolonged separations, slowly eroded their connection. By 1940, the marriage quietly ended in divorce. There was no scandal, no public bitterness, just two people worn down by the rhythms of Hollywood life. For Alice, the experience reinforced a lesson she would never forget. Fame could not substitute for companionship. Everything changed in 1941 when Alice married Phil Harris, a charismatic band leader, radio star, and musician with an infectious sense of humor. Unlike her first marriage, this union was grounded in laughter, emotional balance, and mutual respect. Phil understood the entertainment world but did not compete with Alice's success. Instead, he encouraged her independence and later supported her decision to step away from films entirely. Their personalities complemented each other perfectly. Alice's calm warmth balancing Phil's boisterous charm. Together, they created a home life that Hollywood rarely witnessed. Alice and Phil welcomed 2 daughters, and family quickly became Alice's priority. While Phil continued his radio and television career, Alice chose a quieter life, devoted to motherhood and domestic stability. Their marriage lasted more than 5 decades, enduring the rise and fall of careers, shifting public tastes, and the pressures of celebrity. Friends often remarked on their genuine affection and playful banter, proof that their relationship thrived beyond public image. When Phil Harris passed away in 1995, Alice lost not just a husband, but her lifelong companion. Yet the length and warmth of their marriage remained a rare Hollywood achievement. Alice Faye passed away on May 9, 1998, at the age of 83, just days after her birthday. She died peacefully, leaving behind a legacy defined by grace rather than excess. She is remembered as one of 20th Century Fox's greatest musical stars, a singer whose voice shaped American popular music, a rare Hollywood figure who chose dignity and family over fame,